Hello, this is Tenshi Brandan, and today my presentation is on Blackfriar's Theatre in Elizabethan England from 1576 to 1655. Let's get going. Okay, how would it feel to attend the Blackfriar Theatre during the 16th century? So the setting of the Blackfriar Theatre, it was in London, England. It was originally a Dominican monastery made in the 13th century, and it was located between Thames River and Ludgate Hill. And it's actually pretty close to the globe. A Blackfriar period of theatricals. So in 1576, it was used by the Children's Company just as an area to practice and later perform for Queen Elizabeth in her courts. And then in 1596, James Burbage bought it off Thomas Carwarden, and he converted it into an indoor and private venue, and he pumped a lot of money into it to make it very luxurious. And in 1608, it was later used by William Shakespeare and the King's Men during the winters. So the audience was attended by the wealthy and the highly educated of London. The cheapest seat was about 5 times the amount of the globe, and the capacity ranged from 600 to 1,000 people. And usually the globe was 3,000 people, and it was a private venue with comfy seats and a roof over their heads, unlike the globe where you're all standing and it was in the open. There was no roof. Here are they with their money raining down on them. Okay, so liveness now. So liveness now is dying because of film and TV and YouTube and everything on the internet, and so it's really hard to go to a performance. And then when you do go to a performance, a live performance, the audience is supposed to be considerate of others' viewing experience. So they have this universal courtesy where you're quiet and you're very attentive so you don't bother anyone. And then nowadays they also use lots of technology, and they use more artificial lights, use a lot of animations. They do microphones and technology-mediated backdrops. And nowadays you get this one-on-one with the actors that you don't get in films and TV. That is lacking. And the expectation of the audience is to address social and political problems and really dig deep into human nature. Be very naked. And then the authentic response is minimized due to courtesy, so you can't yell or anything like that without disturbing someone. And here we go, this guy's being rude. So imagine yourself with the present mentality of liveness, traveling back in time and through space in a TARDIS to the Blackfriar Theatre in 16th century. So liveness then. So based on our readings, there was a very representational style of acting where the acting will come from emotions within. It wouldn't be like a face. And this is very realistic, but the downside of this is that they had a realistic play world where men played roles of women, and there's a lot of fairies, ghosts, and other mystical creatures. This imagined world where adults could quote-unquote play without any of the constraints of reality and its norms, so it was pretty engaging for them. And the liveness meant to the London elite everything they have known, because they didn't have an internet or any technology-mediated performances. And there was a good thing that they sold seats on stage, so then these people, magistrates of wit, could interact with the actors, and they could actually be a part of the play without actually being a part of the play. Moving on, the expectations differ from different time periods. So very high expectations due to access to high education, experience of attending many plays, including the Globe and other places like the Rose. The companies are always paid more, so expected professionalism, expected more. And the performances did meet those standards when they were more wittier and intellectually engaging than the public theaters like the Globe. And William Shakespeare, especially, he pushed the norms of personal and social satire, of violence on stage, and of sexual frankness. So that was very engaging. That was very new, and it was exciting. And this is the first theater to use candlelight, not sunlight. This theater was very innovative. And here's the social aspect of the theater, where this guy, they named him Nim. They mocked him because he dressed very well and he bought new things, so that he can be one of those magistrates who would sit on the stage and drop this jacket right over here and catch all the eyes of the ladies. The role of the Blackfriar Theatre in high society. So the children's company at Blackfriar Theatre, so they were also called the Children of the Chapel. They started in 1576 and they performed for Queen Elizabeth and later King James. They were pretty successful. Even like the adult theaters felt threatened by their success because they were very engaged. And their director was Richard Ferrand, but they were censored because their neighbors pleaded to the Privy Council to not turn the monastery into a play area. And Richard Burbage, the son of James Burbage, was in the Chamberlain's Men's, and he managed to take down the ban and host the children's company once again. And here's a petition that the Privy Council presented before, I think, the court to shut them down. And eventually they were shut down in 1584 because they performed an act that politically offended King James. And then William Shakespeare and the King's Men, so they started in 1608 until 1642, and every winter they would perform indoors for 7 months. They were very successful at making these witty plays, especially like Hamlet, and William Shakespeare and his men were in charge. They were censored because a couple times there was plague, so they had to shut it down to stop the spread like nowadays. There was also actors that seemed even a tiny bit rebellious towards the crown were fined, imprisoned, or both. And in 1642, King Charles came into the reign, and then Puritan influence just skyrocketed, and then they shut down all the theaters nationwide. And that was the end of William Shakespeare and everyone else's theater for a while. R.I.P. And this is the end of my presentation, but I did want to say that the Blackfriar Theatre, this is how it was supposed to be, and it was restored in 1655 during the English Civil War. Thank you for attending.